Eyewitness News is bringing you tomorrow's headlines today. And this morning, we're looking at the impact of the long-running Supreme Court race here in North Carolina. Joining us from outside of the Raleigh Eyewitness News Center is Kyle Ingram with the News and Observer. Kyle, good morning, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So it's been 5 months since the November election, and this race remains undecided. So tell us about the legal challenge that's holding up declaring a winner.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this has been going on for a very long time. Jefferson Griffin, who was the Republican candidate in the Supreme Court race, lost by a very narrow margin of 734 votes. And really shortly after 2 recounts were conducted, he went on to challenge over 60,000 ballots in the race. Now, he's doing this using a variety of untested legal methods about registration issues and voter ID issues. And he's conceded, as has the chair of the NCGOP, who's also bringing these challenges, that these are unlikely to be the fault of the voter. But they lay responsibility with the State Board of Elections, who they say shouldn't have allowed these voters to participate anyway.
Well, because of this, many people across the state are unsure if their vote is impacted by all of this. What can voters do right now to make sure that their ballot does count with this race that's so close?
Right. So at this point, there is no remedy in effect from a court. What happened was the State Court of Appeals weighed in last week and said that their opinion was that the state should implement a 15-day cure period wherein most of the affected voters would be able to provide identifying documents to the State Board of Elections or their County Board of Elections in order to validate their vote. However, that decision was put on hold by the state Supreme Court. In the meantime, though, while North Carolina residents figure out what the courts are ultimately going to do with this case, they can always contact their County Board of Elections and ask if there's any information missing from their voter registration. And if so, they can provide that at any time and update their voter registration.
Yeah, this can be really confusing. A lot of people have a lot of questions about this. So if Griffin wins his legal case, what precedent could this set for future elections?
That's the question people across the political spectrum are asking right now. What does it mean if a losing candidate is able to selectively discard ballots until they're put out on top? I think that's a question that we're going to see repeated as this case goes on. It could be several more months before we get a resolution here. But people are wondering, what incentives would this create in future elections in 2026 and 2028 for any other candidate that loses by a small margin?
Really interesting. We're going to be watching this one closely. Kyle Ingram, thanks so much for joining us and answering questions a lot of people watching may have. You can read more on this report on the NNO website or in Sunday's paper.